tells you this, but project management is not just about tracking activities, meeting deadlines, and charts. It's sometimes about dealing with communication chaos and team drama as well. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down the 10 things I wish I knew before I became a project manager. Lessons that I know will help you on your own journey now, so that you can skip the overwhelm, skip the unclarity, and skip not being sure of what you're doing next. And hopefully don't make all the mistakes that I made in my journey. So if you're interested in learning from other people's mistakes, growing your career fast, building trust within your team, and growing a great reputation as a project manager, you don't want to make the same mistakes. Number 8 and number 7 are things you really want to look out for. I'll see you in the video. You don't need to be extremely technical. In fact, you don't need to be technical to do the project management role. So if you're in the role now, or you're trying to get into project management, don't sit there stopping yourself, doubting yourself because you think you need to be technical. You don't need to be technical. What you need is the ability to understand enough and keep the team moving. You're the translator of the vision. You're the person in between the vision and the execution. You're not the builder. Now, will having some technical understanding help? Sometimes yes, but I know many project managers, myself included, who is not technical and still get the job done. And sometimes not being technical is to your advantage because it forces your technical team that are around you to really communicate properly, communicate the actual problem, and not get so involved, because sometimes the technical team are really neck deep in the detail and they get lost in that detail. So sometimes not being technical means that you can bring people out of the detail and ask the right questions, the smart questions, to help the project keep on moving in the right direction. Communication is 80% of the job. Most of the time as a project manager, you're going to be communicating. You're either going to be communicating via email, in your Slack channels, in your Teams chat channels, in your meetings, when you're giving updates, when you're doing your daily stand-ups, or when you're even having one-to-one conversations and trying to remove blockers or get your team working together. And this is critical because if people are not singing from the same hymn book, or they're not on the same page, that is the number one reason why projects fail. And you also need to kind of understand how to communicate with empathy, with understanding, but also with firmness, because you're the driver of the ship, you're the driver of the car. It's your job to get everybody to the destination safely. So you need to exude that confidence in your communication as a project manager. Okay, so the next one is scope creep. Now, if you don't know what scope creep is when items, deliverables, or activities that were not previously planned for in your project appear in your project. That's the layman's definition. Scope creep is you had a baseline, you had all, as a project team, you had agreed what the project was meant to deliver, and as the project started, additional deliverables or additional requests came into play. You know, that one quick change that can then snowball into much more than you originally expected to be. So the solution to scope creep is you have to define your scope very clearly from the beginning. If we're building a car, you have to be clear. What kind of car are you building in the first place? The ask is to manufacture a car that is red in color, or rather, let's use a different color. The ask is to manufacture a car that is cobalt blue in color, that is it's a hybrid car. It has alloy wheels, and the list goes on. You are very specific. The scope of the car does not include that it has a sat-nav system included in it. If that is not in scope, you're not supposed to add it in. You define the scope clearly right from the beginning of the project, and you also make sure that you're clear from the beginning. What happens when a change comes or when a new request comes? When a new request comes in, the rule is it has to be logged, it has to be assessed for the impact on the timeline, on the cost, on the quality of what we're going to end up delivering before we agree to deliver it. So it has to be approved officially, right? If everybody is clear about what the baseline was, what we agreed was the scope of the project, and what happens when new items or new deliverables are requested, then it's less likely that the project will be derailed. And if it is, it's all everybody knows. Nobody's sleepwalking into how we got there. So as a project manager, you need to be flexible, but you're not going to become the doormat. Make sure everybody understands what the change management process is. Number 4, seek to understand before suggesting solutions. This is really critical. One of the best skills you can master is asking thoughtful questions. Don't jump to "I need to fix it," because you might be fixing the wrong problem. First, listen, understand the actual problem. See, there's no such thing as a dumb question, especially if it leads to avoiding a dumb mistake. One of the ways you can seek to understand is on how to ask good questions. Here is a brief video of how to ask good questions, thoughtful questions, until you get down to the ask thoughtful questions and get to the place where you understand what the actual problem is. If you understand the problem, it will be easier to provide options for a solution. And sometimes, because you understand it and you're not in the detail, your solutions will be the right solution, or it will help the team to think about it differently so that they can prefer the right solution. Real quick, if any of the points that I've raised so far is resonating with you, click the like button so that other aspiring project managers will see this and learn some of the lessons now rather than later the hard way. Also drop a comment below. Tell me about the lesson you've learned that you wish you had learned earlier. I read all your comments and I'm looking forward to reading these ones. Now let's get back into the video. Number 7 is metrics and reporting. It's make or break. If you're silent, if there's no update, people will assume that nothing is happening. If you can't put your head in the sand and be working and nobody knows what you're doing, they're going to be assuming that nothing is going on. Remember, if you have kids like I do, when they were growing up, if there's silence in the room and you're not, it's one of two things. Either you're worried that some chaos is happening somewhere else, or they're sleeping. If you don't know for a fact that they're sleeping and you're not hearing anything, 9 times out of 10, the kids are up to some mischief. That's how it is in project management. If you're silent, you're not giving any updates, people don't know what's happening. 9 times out of 10, people are going to assume that the project is not going as smoothly as it should be going, or they will assume that it's going okay, but they're secretly worried that there's going to be a bombshell later on because you haven't been communicating. So you need to make sure that you're providing those reports, you're providing those updates as quickly as possible. You can choose the format or agree the format that the reporting happens depending on your organization and what the organization wants, but that reporting is really, really critical. So it's really important that from the beginning you learn to track and report your metrics. Understand what your run rates are, your timeline, your budget, the risk and the mitigations you are putting in place, the velocity at which the work is being done. Track it and report it. Good reports build confidence. Silence breeds suspicion. Okay, number 8 is big. People management is harder than task management, hands down. You absolutely cannot afford to make these mistakes. Tasks are easy to assign, but people are complex. Everybody has their own ideas, how they want to achieve a task, what they want to do. People are complex. You're going to need to learn to deal with emotions, personalities, team dynamics. You're going to need to learn to be empathetic, have active listening teams. A team that trusts you will follow you, but a team that doesn't will kind of drift really, really fast. What I find is you need to be people focused first. Get to know your team, get to know your stakeholders. And this is really critical. Let me make it a little bit more practical. When you start working on a project, you're working with different teams. Maybe you're working with a finance team, or you're working with the you're working with the cyber team. When you start working with them, make friends. Treat the people around you as people while you're still leading your project. Because one, if you have that rapport, if they know that you are listening and you're empathetic and you are showing genuine interest in them, it's easier to get people to do what you want them to do. That relationship will not only serve you in that project, particularly if you're in a big organization, it will serve you on other projects. If you're working in IT, 9 times out of 10, there's no project you're going to do that you might not have to go to the cyber department, for instance, or need to go to the finance department sometimes. If you've built some of those relationships, even if you're not assigned the same individual you had to work with before, and you're assigned somebody new, you are halfway there in terms of building that relationship and getting the right outcomes, because you already know how to deal with the people in that department, and most likely you also understand how to work with that department. So don't be an island, don't put your head down. What people appreciate most is when you're very clear and you exhibit that you're organized and you genuinely care about them, what's going on. You're empathetic to what's going on. I'm not saying you need to become a therapist while you're doing your job, of course not. But I'm saying you need to lead with care, and you'll get better results from the team that you have around you. Number 9, imposter syndrome is common. You don't need to let that slow you down. If you're working on your project and you get to a point you say, I'm not even sure I know what I'm doing. It's common, it happens. What you just need to do is keep at it. Keep on asking questions. Keep on getting clarity and keep on doing the work. So if you keep on asking those questions and you keep on showing up, you're actually doing better than you think. I'm going to give an example of when I was once on a project and it was so alien to me. The concepts, the technical concepts on this particular project were really difficult for me to grasp. So I felt so out of my depth, uncomfortable, and of course imposter syndrome really was having a hold on me. So I went to some stakeholders that were doing the job and I asked them to explain exactly what's happening. One person explained it, I didn't get it. The second person explained it and I still didn't get it, and I was wondering, why am I not getting this? Then I went to another individual, and this time the person drew out the concepts and it clicked. What am I trying to say? Sometimes if you're not understanding a concept, it might be being explained to you in the wrong way, or you have not quite understood how you learn. For me, I'm a very visual learner. You might explain to me, you might explain something to me in words, but the moment you draw it out in a graph, in a process diagram, I can visually see it. It clicks immediately. So it's vice versa. When you are trying to learn, try to guide people to teach you or explain things to you in the way that it will be quick for you to understand. For me, it's visual. But also understand how people learn on the other side, on the person that you're communicating with. So if that person is a visual person, give the person the concept in a visual way. If the person just likes 5 quick bullet points, provide those bullet points and help the person to get what you're saying quickly. That's just a tip to help with the imposter syndrome. Okay, number 10, continuous learning is essential. Don't think you've arrived. Don't think that there's nothing else to learn. Project management is broad. You can find yourself working in different industries, so there's always something that you need to learn. There are new tools. AI is here. We need to learn fast. This field moves really fast. New methodologies. At one point there was agile, there was only waterfall. Now we have agile, and there's and people use a hybrid of agile as well now. There are sprints. People are finding better and more efficient ways to work. So you need to ensure that you keep on learning new tools as well. Before, everybody was using Microsoft Project, and still a lot of people are using Microsoft Project, but Monday.com is not bad as well. It gets the job done. So the best PMs don't stop learning. They take the courses, they keep their certifications up and running, they get PDU points, they attend conferences to find out how other people are doing the job, what mistakes other organizations may have made, what are the key learnings. Go for those conferences. If you don't have a membership in PMI, for instance, it's good to have that membership, because they will invite you for conferences and you will learn what's going on, and you'll end up building your network along the way as well. Every opportunity you're going to face is going to be an opportunity to learn and to grow. Take it, seize it with 2 hands. Don't think that there's any project that is beyond your capabilities. You will learn something and it will help you somewhere else. All right, there it is. Those are my top 10 lessons that it took me years to learn, but I've distilled to you in a couple of minutes. Project management is not just about spreadsheets and deadlines. It's about people, it's about communication, and it's about continuous learning. If this gave you value, please click the subscribe button. I've got more practical project management tips. Let me know in the comments below which lesson you're going to take into your next project. I'll see you in the next video. Remember, I read all your comments and I'll be waiting in the comment section to respond to you. See you in the next video. Cheerio. Bye-bye.